Tonight, some of the top drivers in all of Formula 3 racing on iRacing are all set to make the trek to Watkins Glen International to show what they can do on RaceSpotTV for the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me in the booth tonight is Joshua Lee with Tyler Maxson in the production truck for tonight's action. Cameras provided by Esteban Balu for tonight's action. Tonight is going to be an intriguing one, Joshua. It's been an intriguing road so far for these drivers throughout the week in the first week of official racing action for Season 3 of 2021. But tonight, it's the strength of field race, which means a lot of added pressure for our drivers.
That also means that they're going up against the best of the best, like you mentioned, Justin, in this series. Everybody is going to be trying to get the win. They want to say they won on RaceSpotTV. They want to say they won the race of the week. There's a lot of fast guys up at the front of the field and a lot of close times as we round out qualifying.
We'll get to those in just a moment, but let's take a look at your schedule for this season. 20 laps are on the docket here tonight at Watkins Glen, Long Beach, Suzuka, Hockenheim Ring, Alton Park, Spa-Francorchamps, Phillip Island, Montreal, Zandvoort, Imola, the Red Bull Ring in Silverstone. A stacked schedule this season.
And that
all
schedule,
of this ring, go ahead.
And that schedule is going to bring a lot of challenges, a lot of unique tracks, and a lot of different racing styles that these drivers are going to be tested on.
And also the challenges tonight, Joshua, of Watkins Glen itself.
And there's a lot of challenges on it, a lot of uphill, a lot of downhill. You got that bus stop on the back straightaway that you got to make sure you get on the brakes. Don't get too much on the curbs with. Don't get that power down too early in the carousel. You could end up in the barrier. Make sure you get it good going down, uphill, downhill in the boot. This track, deceptively tricky with all of its up and downhill sections. It is going to be intense, to say the least.
Your starting grid in just a few moments. You're watching RaceSpotTV for coverage of the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship. On your starting pole for tonight, it's Felipe Drugovich with a 1:37.140 in qualifying. That was a 10th quicker than Connor Bell, the Canadian. Valvio Dantas starts in third position with Rafael Camaro, the winner of the 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Split in fourth. Juan Central Ferreira and Felipe Dantas, the top six, with Humbert and Massad in the top eight. Alex Fournier and Tristan Torquay rounding out the top 10 positions. Michel Lucien and Thiago Spencer in 12th position. Simon Fassi will start in 13th position in the 138-second bracket behind your top 12, with Dario Angello in 14th. Victor Bolia in 15th, with Kenji Yamamoto in 16th. Marc-Antoine Thibert in 17th spot. Roberto Guerrero 18th, with Alexis Cross, Danto Guresco, Don Lee, Sebastian Scholja, along with Taylor Lane, Brandon Rosner, Surgeon Yesokohali, and the last driver on the grid, Andrea Attini, for your 26 drivers who have made what is your largest SOF of the week so far. The previous best entering today's action, 3,057. It is a 31.23 based on iRating for today. Our drivers are getting ready for the standing start. Less than 15 seconds until roll for tonight's action. The question is, which driver will take home victory here at Watkins Glen? Let's find out. The drivers are ready, the cars are ready, and we're ready for Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship action. The engines are revving, the green lights are out, we're underway from Watkins Glen. And a great start off from the launch from Drugovich, already off into the corner, single file. The rest of the drivers going 2 by 2 into the first corners.
Already shuffling as they work their way now up the hill to the back straightaway. Side by side, further back. Some cars electing to go 3 wide off the start, but it's all Felipe Drugovich out in front. Flavio Dantas going to gain a spot on Connor Bell. Bell's going to fall to third, but right on that back wing as they enter the bus stop for the first time.
Our first major danger spot of the race tonight. Several drivers in some of the official races have gone off into the grass from drivers with later sends in this section. The 20 machine. Mitchell Lucien has had that situation. Alexis Cross also with the similar situation. The rest of the drivers made it through cleanly into the boot for the first time, Joshua.
And they all did get through clean. No major wrecks or any wrecks for that matter out there on the track right now. Couple of stragglers further back falling down the order, but it's all good up front as Drugovich pulls away. Battle back here for your 4th spot. It's Rafael Camara trying to hold on to it, but he's got a mirror full. 2 mirrors full of Juan Segundo Valero. He dives it up the inside and he'll take 4th.
Valero able to rip away that spot for the time being here in the first lap. Camaro, though, with the switchback now, heading out of the boot through turn 9 off of the turn 10, got the preferred line. Continue to scrap back and forth. Keep in mind that this is going to be intriguing how some of these battles play out. But at the end of the first lap, Felipe Drugovich, who entered tonight as the series points leader, has the advantage by more than 9/10 of a second at the end of the first lap.
Ooh, and a big move being made a little bit further back. That looks to be Dario Agnello going 3 wide into turn number 1. One car goes way wide. That looks to be Carl Massad as they're still 3 wide. Now back to 2 wide. Now settling it back to single file as they race up the hill. Still side by side as they continue to fight. That is Dario Agnello. Carl Massad now at the front of this pack. Alex Fournier sitting in the 3rd spot. They go 3 wide coming down the back straightaway.
A big run for Alex Fournier to the inside. That's a little bit dangerous there, and that's why contact sends out Fournier, and Fournier off into the kitty litter.
That was a little bit too close for comfort as that did send Fournier around and into the sand. Unfortunate for him, but look at these two still going at it as they enter the boot. That's the number 5 machine still trying to hold on as Agnello. Victor Bollier now in the 7 car joining the fight.
And these drivers have to be careful about picking up damage, because if you pick up significant damage to the wing, especially to those end plates into the wing itself, it can cause you to really slow down in the corners. Downforce very critical. Here's a look at this situation, and I think that the 5 at the very least avoided significant damage, but you can tell that was a very optimistic move.
Got a little bit too much on those curbs, and that's what we talked about during the pre-show. Getting a little bit too far on those curves in the bus stop could lead to disaster. We're already seeing it here on lap number 2.
Potentially damage that will affect the floor of these machines as well in the bottom of these Dallara F312 F3 machines. Already a couple laps into the action. The racing can go by very quickly here, but it's so easy to end up having trouble breaking into a rhythm here. And it can take some time to set up some of the passes. What are the best chances you feel drivers will have to be able to make moves today if they get the pace done, as we see one of those battles heading towards the backstretch?
Well, we talked about the bus stop being one of those danger spots, but it honestly is your best opportunity to try and make a pass as we take a look at Carl Massad and Marc-Antoine Thibault going at it into the bus stop. But like I mentioned, the bus stop seems to be one of those best opportunities they have, because it's the hardest these guys are going to be on the brakes pretty much throughout the entire lap. It could mean a good spot to be able to make a move coming down the back straightaway, use the slipstream, have that inside heading into the bus stop. But as long as you or the other driver doesn't get too far on the curbs, it could be an easy, successful pass made, but those curbs can jump out and get you when you least expect it.
Several drivers already have been caught out throughout the week in official action, just in that section alone, as we see all the drivers make their way to the heel at the moment. And the interesting thing when it comes to this as well is trying to break out of the draft lock in some cases, because this field can break up potentially, but the key thing is trying to run in the 137s to 138s. That's the pace that a majority of the field is expected to run for tonight. That's the optimized pace throughout the entire week in official action so far.
And a handful of those drivers are currently running in those pace. You look at Felipe Drugovich, he's already pulled out a 1.2 second gap. He has a lead of 1.2 seconds over the rest of the field, and he's running those lap times like you were talking about, 1:37.5 last time by. So he is running great out there on the racetrack right now as we have a side-by-side battle heading into the bus stop. Diving in once again, Felipe Dantas and Max Humpert going side-by-side. They get it settled out to single file. Dantas up into 6th, Humpert into P7.
Humpert on the radio had indicated he want to let him go in that situation. Barrett also passing right on by Massad there. Once again in the battle for 10th position. This battle's fairly fierce, and this track can play into some aggressive battling. And one thing to keep in mind is look towards the edge of the front wing where it attaches to the car. There's the chance you'll see a lot of scraping there today, Joshua. That's something that's become very common this week here at Watkins Glen with how close the ride heights here at this racetrack. You may see little scrapes that pop up.
And it's another thing with those curbs, and another thing with the elevation changes. The car bouncing off of the ground, it's bottoming out when you come off of the curbs. When you're going uphill, it will scrape that floor. Can not only lead to floor damage, but like you mentioned, Justin, lead to wing damage. It's a bunch of things these drivers need to watch out for, and they don't really want to think about it while they're racing side by side with another car, but it is unfortunately one of the things that they do need to keep in mind to hopefully not create problems later on in the race.
Absolutely. As we take a look at Carl Massad once more in the midst of this battle. See how things fare out this time down the back straight as Thiago Spencer is now trying to set up a move in one of the sub-racing machines. Bit defensive this time with the slipstream, trying to go on the outside. This is Spencer you're on board with. Didn't want to take it side by side to the bus stop that time and trying to stay away from those inner curbs.
About one spot back from that battle, Donato Gargiso made a move on Kenji Yamamoto. Yamamoto was able to make a move on Gargiso, my fault, and Fessy made a move on Gargiso as well. So Donato Gargiso falling 2 spots in just a handful of corners there as they now enter through the bus stop, grabbing a look at the 14 and the 15, diving into the uphill corner, the heel of the boot as they race now down towards the turn number 8.
The reason why Gargiso had so much time loss was he went off into the grass, in fact, Joshua, in the inner loop. And if you try and send it too optimistically into that section, it's so easy to end up having an incident there and go off into the grass and sometimes take somebody with you. That's what led the 15 losing 2 spots on the bright side for him. One of the biggest movers so far, +5 on the race still. Now is still among some of your highest running position gainers, +6 by the way. Victor Bolia +6. Barrett also up 7 spots in the 10th spot at the moment on the racetrack. Already a quarter distance to the way through. And these times are expected to get quicker and quicker as the race goes on, as the fuel burns. Some drivers can run as quick as 1 minute and 36 seconds here today.
And you mentioned those lap times going up. That's exactly what's happening. Felipe Drugovich just set his fastest lap of the race. Flavio Dantas set his fastest lap of the race. Connor Bell just set his fastest lap of the race. 5th place, Juan Segundo Valero set his fastest lap of the race. And even more drivers in the field just set their fastest lap of the races. Look at the move from Marc-Antoine Thibault. He'll grab that spot, but Massad isn't done. He'll race back to the inside as they enter the boot. Not able to get close enough. They're still single file now as they enter the toe.
And this battle has been going back and forth just about the entire race as Spencer sees an opportunity to go to the inside. This is now for 11th position. Spencer has the preferred line for the heel. We'll see if Massad's going to be able to defend on the outside for the swing back into turn 9. Yes, indeed, actually able to pinch him off and try and slow him up on that run through the corner.
On board now, Kenji Yamamoto, as he looks back at this fight, and he has gained up to this fight. He's one of those drivers that just set his fastest lap of the race. He is starting to gain speed out of that car. As you take a look up in front, Massad blocking Thiago Spencer as they went through that final corner. They'll come down the front straightaway. Spencer steps out of line to possibly make a move heading into turn number 1. He'll fall right back in, but he has Yamamoto right on his back wing looking to make a move, and he goes way wide. Yamamoto now to the inside as they come up the hill.
Side by side up to the S's, and normally you don't want to go side by side in this section, but we'll see how things stick about with Yamamoto getting the draft from the back end of Massad. Now the draft will be fed to Spencer down the back straight. Side by side in towards the inner loop as Spencer sends it to the curbs. Big slide as Yamamoto forced to check up. Yamamoto will have to reset.
That could have been very close to contact between both of those drivers, but they get it settled out. Spencer losing time to Massad up front. Marc-Antoine Thibault making his way further up the track in 10th position, gaining time to the cars in front. Now, so it's Spencer, Yamamoto, Gargiso in this fight as well. Fessid, you can go as far back as Roberto Guerrero, all in this fight right now as they race through the boot.
Yamamoto taking the peak this time. Spencer continues to defend as Yamamoto forced to shuffle down through the gears. And how frustrating is this as a driver, knowing you're battling as hard as this and continues to cost you time? It's gone to where this battle originally was a train for 10th position. Now it's a train stretching all the way back for 17th spot on the racetrack.
It's frustrating, of course, but it's even more frustrating if you're one of these drivers caught up in this line, because you're catching cars. You need to try and get past them, but once you do, it's even further up to the cars in front as one driver tries to make a move to the inside. That was Simon Fessy in turn number 1. Not able to make anything happen. They stay single file, and they stay the exact same spots as they were when they came across the start-finish line.
Again, no reset to try and battle amongst this grouping of cars. By the way, there has been a swap for 7th position. Machinello has been able to make the move on Dantes to be able to make himself a +7 on the race. But a bit of a slide in this group. That is Gargiso making another mistake and another slide back for the 15. He's back to 15th position as Don Lee now tries to set up the move on the outside. Going to try and go for the optimistic move and makes it stick.
Great move from Don Lee. That is exactly what he needed to do. He saw the mistake. He was able to get around him now in P15. But the 15 is not done. Here comes Gargiso right back to the back wing. They'll race out of the toe. Down towards the heel, turn 8. They see Simon Fessy up the road ahead of him as well, looking to try and make a move.
This is not gone how that 15 machine has wanted this run to go. Guerrero is now within the mix. And then the train drops off for about another second or so back to the edge of the top 20. By the way, your race leader Felipe Drugovich is leading by 2.4 seconds up at the front of the field. We should mention Connor Bell stayed within 0.7 of a second of Camara for the battle for the final step on the podium. And for Felipe, very great start to the race, very quick pace, but some great battles still going through the 90 this time as they go through the S's this time. The train is now for 15th on back. Don Lee trying to hold on.
On board with Gargiso as it will make a peek to the inside. He'll open that door coming down the back straightaway, side by side, heading into the bus stop. Gargiso versus Lee, diving into the bus stop once again. He'll power on the outside and contact made. Into the grass goes both drivers. Even worse for Don Lee. He'll slam into the tire barrier and more involved out of the bus stop.
And as Gargiso got back on the racetrack, he got hit as well and sent up into the sky and collected that second train of drivers for about 18th on back. Significant contact, and my goodness, to say the very least. We'll look towards one of the battles starting to form up for 7th spot meanwhile. Max Humbert allowed a couple drivers to go before. We'll see how defensive he gets as we see what happened once more in the bus stop.
They went side by side, ran out of room. Don Lee gets sent over into the tire barrier. And then when Gargiso was coming back on it, it looks like the drivers behind him didn't see, and then they end up slamming into him. Here's the replay. On board with Don Lee. It looks like he tried to cover off the spot, just wasn't clear in time.
Yeah, massive slide for Don Lee. Don Lee's back in 22nd. One of the drivers collected, by the way, in the aftermath was Andrea Bettini, who is now on a tow, as well as the 15 ESO. But back towards that battle going on for what's going to be 6th position on the racetrack, I should say. Max Humbert has dropped back 3 seconds from where he was before. Remember, Max Humbert had gotten as high as about the top 5 before. Dario Agnello having a pretty solid race so far for Absolute Motorsport Esports Racing Team. They also have Dantes, who is also, Dantes I should rather say, who is in this grouping of train of drivers. They're running the 138-second bracket. That's right behind them as well. It's still that train going on that's once again formed up for 11th position.
Back out of the boot goes that group as we grab a look. A little bit further back is more drivers exit the boot. That's Thiago Spencer, Carl Massad, and Kenji Yamamoto. We talked about these 3 drivers specifically being in a group a little bit earlier on, Justin, in the first half of this race. And as we now enter past halfway into the final 10 laps of this motor race, Spencer has now found Massad, and Yamamoto has joined the fight as well. These 3 cars battling for 11th spot, and Marc-Antoine Thibault not that far up the road as he enters turn number 1.
Last time by, actually, Thibault lost 6/10 to this train. And if you're these drivers, do you try and work together and try and draft train up to that spot if you want to get a top 10, or do you see them just fighting once they get back together once more?
It honestly depends, I think, on how the rest of this race is going to go. Do I think they are going to work together? Absolutely not. But do I think they're going to really race that hard? Also, absolutely not. I think we might see Massad make a move on Thiago Spencer purely because Massad is looking a little bit faster now that he has that slipstream from the 4 in front of him. But I don't see them really making any rash moves as they work past a lapped machine, it looks like, in between the 2, and they will pull out of the way. Marc-Antoine Thibault sits there in P10.
That's Don Lee, who was involved in an incident we seen moments ago. So he moves off to the side of the racetrack. Spencer, meanwhile, continues to chug along, still 1.4 seconds back, and now Spencer gets a little bit loose. A bit of a tank slapper. Massad takes advantage of the slide.
Massad now going to take that spot over Spencer, so that will move Spencer down to P12. Massad now up to P11. Can he catch up to Thibault up in front, though?
That's the big question. These drivers line back up. Spencer clipped a little bit of the grass on that entry. Yamamoto backs up on his entry for the corner exit. Vessi nearly slid off into the racetrack as well. It should be worth noting that the 10 machine has been reeled in by the 5 and is letting by the 5. You see right there. Max Humbert, as he goes off into the grass, has been very casual and been very allowable for drivers to go on by. Massad, meanwhile, still lined up behind Spencer now.
Spencer doing a great job trying to hold off the remaining drivers behind him. They'll enter the boot once again. These 3 still so close together, but not able to make a move. Specifically talking about Yamamoto. He's just sitting watching these 2 battle up in front. Can't get enough slipstream to catch up to the back bumper, the back wing, I should say, of Massad. But Spencer doing a great job at defending. Can Massad catch up in time?
That's going to be the big question. There's still plenty of time to work with. 8 laps to go this time by. So there's a lot of time to think about how you plot this out. And as well to try and catch back up to the 17. As new purple lap being set by Drugovich, the F2 driver. A 137.151 on the racetrack. Seems that Spencer is very strong, I have to say, though, in Sector 3. The run-up out of the heel through turn 9, 10, and 11, been able to push it to the very limit. The trouble spot has been trying to defend with the back straight with that draft that comes into play, with that being the best section and the longest stretch of straightaway on the track.
And Spencer's doing a really good job at holding off. I know I've been saying that a lot, but he's really doing a good job at running his own race, not really worrying about what's in his mirror. And what's in the mirror of the 10 car right now of Max Humpert is Felipe Dantas as he tries to fight up from P8 into P7 through the carousel. Great run so far today from Humpert. Great run so far as well for Dantas. Both of them looking for more spots on the racetrack, but they're battling each other right now as they head into the boot.
And the surprising thing that time with the side-by-side, no call from Max over the radio saying go on by. He wants to fight this position, in fact, this time, it looks like for now.
And it looks like he is trying to fight it as that 10 is going to hold off Dantas for a little bit more. Touches the grass, though, doesn't get it too upset. He'll come out of the boot now this time. They'll keep the car under him. On board with Dantas trying to work his way around. They'll enter into turn number 10. And Dantas not able to close that gap any more than he already has.
Keep in mind for Max Humpert, this is the position he started, 7th spot on the racetrack. As a driver, that can be so huge in saying, I finished where I started. After his good start, he slips and slides and nearly went off into the grass in the runoff area in the 90. That may set up the boost for the number 3 machine to make the move. Here he comes on the slipstream. Right up to the gearbox, and right for the move he goes to the inside, taking away 7th.
Great move for Dantas. Exactly what he needed to do, but sliding right into place is Max Humpert. When will he try and make a retaliation move, and will he go for one? Side by side now, heading into the bus stop. It was Masad and Yamamoto. Carl Masad in the number 16 is going to take that spot away. P12 to Masad, down to P13 is Yamamoto. They're still side by side as they enter the boot. Yamamoto going to have the inside this time. Oh, contact! Masad into the grass! Into the wall goes Carl Masad!
And huge contact for the 12th position car. Last time by, these drivers started scrapping from the 90 onward. But it's a little tap to the left rear tire that sends Masad into the wall. Not happy about that situation. That's a good run. That goes for naught there as a result of that incident.
Unfortunate for Masad. He was having such a good day, too. Unfortunately, one little love tap of the wheels and around he went. Here's that replay. They were coming out of the carousel into the bus stop. Yamamoto goes to the inside. A little love tap, possibly some connection issues involved there as well, but either way, Masad in the 16 sent into the tire barrier. So unfortunate for the 16, one of the fastest cars all day.
You can already see falling down the pylon as a result of the incident in the toe to 22nd position on down. I think he's realized that connection side of things, the potential possibility as well. We're looking, though, at the battle for 3rd position. These two have been connected fairly close this entire run. The Delta Sport machine of Connor Bell has held on to the final step of the podium this entire run at the moment. Well, Rafael Camara has kept the pressure up and has been really keeping him honest so far, I have to say.
He has, and Camara hasn't fallen too far back. He's exactly where he started this race. I believe he gained a couple of spots and then fell right back, but still a good day from Camara. Bell did lose a spot on Flavio Dantas, but Dantas is not that far up the road. He is still within about 1.4 seconds of Connor Bell. Camara is about 0.6 back from Bell. And then you have to go back 6 seconds to find the driver in 5th place. So these 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place drivers still running fairly close together. And if any of them make a mistake, they will have another car on their back wing very quickly.
Absolutely. With 5 laps to go, that's going to be very critical. Is making sure to make no mistakes now. Almost off to the edge of the runoff area. And these drivers, you can tell, are utilizing as much as the pavement runoff area as they can here. Keep in mind, there is that stretch where you can extend that a little bit out of the 90. But it's so easy if you, say, try and decide to go straight through the grass, to just spin it on around. That's why you're seeing the drivers then have to cut so quickly to avoid the grass to make sure they don't spin it out.
And that's been the challenge all day long, is cutting it close. You talk about track limits at a lot of different tracks. You don't really talk about it at Watkins Glen, because right as the pavement ends, grass starts pretty much everywhere on the track except for turn 1 and the carousel. So you really got to be careful with those track limits not to get it on the grass. And that seems to be some of the major challenges for these drivers today, is getting those slight tires on the grass and spinning it into the wall.
Going back on board with the 9 machine, and that's so very critical. It's making sure you hold on to control. These drivers have to put in a lot of time and preparation to make sure they know the very fine limits of this car, Joshua.
And the limits of this car, they're not too much. Really, just the limits is getting onto the grass, because these cars are already lightweight as it is. And when you get racing slicks on grass, it's already a bad time. But that downforce that these cars slightly lack from being Formula 3 Dallara cars is that they get a lot more upset when you get on the grass. You got to be really careful about that. And we talked about the cars bottoming out as well, coming off of the curbs. Doesn't look like we've had anybody here today have that issue, but it still was something these drivers had to think about when they took the green flag.
Still scraping the car with the elevation changes, but it's still something that they've been avoiding, is a lot of the curbing for today. Is trying to make sure they don't take too much of it. I've noticed a lot of the bus stop for these competitors, as that battle for third position is with about half a second distance between them. They are still a couple seconds behind the number 1 machine in this split. Also worth noting that we talked about the 17 machine holding on to the top 10 in his +7. He has been reeled in by Spencer and is within 1 second for the final 3 laps or so of this race.
Okay, and the 17 hold on. You can see Spencer right on that back wing as they enter into the toe of the boot here at Watkins Glen. Can Spencer close that gap? He's not doing that well of a job here at the beginning of the boot to do that. He'll have a bit of slipstream, and that slipstream is helping him. You can see that gap. He's really closing it in, especially into the braking zone of the heel and back out of the boot. He was able to close a good bit of time using that slipstream, but not enough to be able to make a move. He'll still stay 5/10 back as they enter into turn 10.
As a driver, I've heard this discussion point from some of our competitors. Are you concerned about aero wash with this car at all here at Watkins Glen being a factor in these position battles? We've seen how close they can run in some cases today.
A little bit worried possibly of just on the exit of the corner, specifically like that. You can see both of them go wide. There's not enough aero wash that I think I would be personally affected by it, but some of these other drivers that maybe get on the power a little bit differently, or maybe will take corners a little bit quicker, they might have more of an issue with that. Aero washes to the outside goes Thiago Spencer, powers on around the 17 and up into the top 10 goes Thiago Spencer once again here at Watkins Glen.
And looked very strong on the brakes too while doing so. Spencer was in that position battle. So move Spencer inside the top 10. Solid position to close things out. Coming up to 2 laps to go already in this race. That battle for third position is the tightest it's been now in the past while. Rafael Camara within drafting distance now. If he can keep this distance, it could get interesting in the bus stop this time.
On board with Connor Bell, looking back at Rafael Camara as they enter their way through turn 11, back onto the front straightaway. Can Bell keep on to this podium spot? 2 laps to go as the leader Felipe Drugovich comes across the line, and this battle enters back into turn number 1. Bell way off the track, but Camara gonna stay a little bit more within those track limits. Now within that slipstream as they go up the hill and onto the back straightaway. A little loose up in front is Bell. Look at the run Camara's gonna get right in that slipstream, stays in it for a moment, pulls out to the left side. They are side by side heading into the bus stop. They're gonna stay side by side.
and could see that one coming with how dangerous that section has been for moves. Damage to the front wing of Camaro as a result. No front wing for Bell. Now it's the question of which of these damaged cars are going to come across the stripe first amongst this lap and a half. Will they have to come down and hit in the closing stages as they now try and battle both of them with the damage? Bell makes the move to the left side. Camaro with the damage now on the right side. And I think the front wing may be scraping for that number 9 and cause him to slow down. Let's take a look at this move one more time.
Side by side, a risky move heading into the bus stop, and you're about to see exactly why. They just run out of real estate. You can see it right there. Kamara turns right in on Bell, and then nothing he could do. He was going through the grass, had no control over the car, collects the 8, less damage for the 9 of Kamara. You can see that wing. It's dislocated, but not fully off. Bell completely lost that front wing when they came together in the bus stop.
An arrow look at full speed. We've seen from the onboard how much it was an attempt to turn away from that for the number 9, but significant damage for both on the white flag lap. Both will try and bring their cars to the checkered flag. Valero has already moved up to 4th position. Is there enough time for Juan Sejandu Valero to close up to a podium position? All while Drugovich leads by 3.5 seconds.
This is going to be a walk-off win for Felipe Drugovich, and I don't think anybody's really surprised. Formula 2 driver from Brazil, and a textbook day for him. Qualified on the pole and is going to come home a winner here at Watkins Glen here in the last couple of corners. One more good lap and he'll be walking away top step of the podium for that number 2. This is what I love about this F3 series. It really brings a lot of the best out of multiple motorsports, whether it's real life or whether it's in sim. We saw Alex Albon's brother go racing in this series a couple of months ago. Same thing with a couple of other F1 brothers go racing in this series. And that is the best thing about F3, and Drugovich has come for the win.
Drugovich will come away with a dominating one on that matter of more than 4 seconds. Felipe Drugovich wins the opening race. RaceSpotTV for the Apex Racing Academy official F3 championship. Flavio Dantas in 2nd position as the battles continue.
Battles are going to end here as they come across the line. Going for the move to the outside is the 5-footer. Finish at the line and he'll get the spot. Agnello's going to finish in 4th with a last-minute pass on Bell.
That's a plus 10 for him on the race. Connor Bell with the damage able to squeak out a top 5. Several more continue to scrap, including this one in the closing stages. As the field closing up to the stripe, the closest battle is for 16th. Guerrero and Tristan Troche here wing to wing to close things out. The rest of the field come across the stripe. Separation from 1st to 20th be approximately 1 minute and 22 seconds. Give a shout out to Alex Fournier for wheeling his car around with the damage. But Felipe Drugovich, it is a dominant victory today, leading every single lap and winning by 4.3 seconds over Flavio Dantas. Valero finishes in 3rd. Agnello finishes in 4th spot at plus 10. Your biggest mover of the race today, Connor Bell, after significant contact, finishes in 5th position. Felipe Dantas finishes in 6th spot with Humbert in 7th. Olia in 8th. Spencer and Camaro round out the top 10. The Bear finishes in 11th position just behind them after being in the top 10 much of the race. Bessie comes home in 12th. Essien finishes in 13th. Yamamoto 14th. Reeser in 15th. Guerrero, Troike, along with Yeso Keali in 18th. Soja finishes in 19th. Alex Fournier rounds out the top 20. One driver, 1 lap down, Don Lee. Tini did make his way back onto the racetrack in 22nd position. 5 laps down. Masson, 6 laps down in 23rd. Urgiso, 24th. Taylor Lane, quick exit, 9 laps down, 25th. Alexis Cross, 26th, had issues on the first lap. Some exciting action throughout the entire pack. Joshua, your thoughts on how things played out today?
It was a great start to the season that we're going to broadcast here on RaceSpotTV. We had side-by-side. We had a little bit of carnage in there, but a lot of great close racing. And I know it's only going to get heightened when we go to Long Beach. We have Suzuka, Hockenheim, Olsen Park, and more on the schedule. You can see it on your screen now. This is one series you need to tune in every week because it's only going to go up from here.
Absolutely. Your expectations as a result for Long Beach, a street circuit that can bring lots of intense action, as you mentioned, but also the potential for trouble.
Well, I think if we're going to see Felipe Drugovich back next week, we're going to see him trying to dominate at Long Beach, but it's going to be the driver who can really keep their car out of the wall, because like you mentioned, it's a street circuit. It's bumpy. Getting up on the curbs is not the best idea. These drivers that can keep it out of the wall, keep their cars clean, are going to be the ones that are successful, and who can, of course, go the fastest as well. Long Beach is a very tough road course to get right.
Absolutely. And on that note, it's time to say goodbye. We'd like to thank you for tuning in for today's action here on RaceSpotTV. For Esteban Balu, for our technical director, Tyler Maxson, for my co-broadcaster, Joshua Lee, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. You're watching the first round of RaceSpotTV's coverage of the Apex Racing Academy official F3 Championship. Congratulations to Felipe Drugovich, your winner from Watkins, Glen.